Good afternoon. This is JC, St. Louis's oldest living hippie, and I'm bringing you some breaking news. Rachel Maddow is just talking about it. It's half an hour long, but I'm only going to do the first 3 or 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. So here you go. I want you to listen to this. This is something you're going to really enjoy.
Welcome, friends. I'm Rachel Maddow, and tonight we're going to unpack a story that has shaken both the U.S. economy and the corridors of power in Washington. It's a story about legal authority, executive overreach, economic consequences, and the ripple effects that reach every American household. The Supreme Court has just ruled against former President Trump's tariffs, and the implications are enormous, both politically and economically. From Wall Street to Main Street, no one will be untouched by what this decision means. The case centers on the Trump administration's use of executive authority to impose tariffs on billions of dollars worth of imported goods. These tariffs were controversial from the start, sparking trade wars, consumer backlash, and intense debate in Congress. Proponents hailed them as protection for American workers' industries. Critics warned of inflation, higher costs, and retaliation from international partners. And now, after years of litigation, the nation's highest court has drawn a line in the sand. This is not just a legal technicality. It's a profound rebuke of unilateral executive power. The Supreme Court's decision underscores that even the president is bound by the Constitution and federal statutes. The ruling invalidates billions of dollars worth of tariffs, potentially forcing the government to refund fees collected from companies and consumers and sending shockwaves through supply chains that have been recalibrated over years of trade tension, and the timing is critical. We are living in a moment of economic fragility, rising inflation, market uncertainty, and an electorate sensitive to price spikes at the grocery store and the gas pump. When the Supreme Court acts to block a major economic policy, it doesn't just impact corporations and investors. It impacts families, consumers, and communities nationwide. That's why tonight we will go beyond the headlines to explain the legal reasoning, the economic consequences, and the political fallout, including how figures like Warren Buffett are reacting to what this means for investors and the economy. This story is also a window into the broader questions of governance in America. What role do the courts play in checking executive power? How far can a president go before he steps outside the bounds of the law? And what does this say to the checks and balances designed to keep our democratic institutions functioning, even when political pressures run high? So tonight, we will walk you through the Supreme Court's decision, the immediate response from the White House, the reactions from economists, investors, and international trade partners, and why this ruling may very well reshape U.S. economic policy for years to come. This is a story about law, power, and money, and it's unfolding in real time. Buckle up. The repercussions of this ruling are larger than most Americans appreciate, and the ripples have only just begun. The Supreme Court's ruling against former President Trump's tariffs is not simply a legal decision, it is a seismic event in American governance, trade, and politics. It represents at its center the deepest assertion of the principle that even the highest executive office is bound by law. The case itself focused on the limits of presidential authority under federal trade statutes, questioning whether unilateral action could impose tariffs of such scale without congressional approval. In a decisive majority opinion, the justices found that the executive branch had overstepped its authority by invalidating billions of dollars in tariffs that had been levied on international imports. In practical terms, this decision forces a cascade of consequences across the U.S. economy. Businesses which had adjusted supply chains to account for these tariffs may now face the logistical nightmare of recalibration. Companies which have already paid these tariffs are now potentially entitled to refunds, and the process of reimbursing billions of dollars is already generating bureaucratic friction at the Treasury Department. For consumers, the ramifications are equally immediate. Products which had become more expensive due to these tariffs, electronics, appliances, industrial materials, and even some consumer goods, may see price reductions, but only after complex market adjustments. And within the White House, the reaction was immediate and chaotic. Officials scrambled to interpret the decision, with some senior advisors reportedly urging a careful, measured public statement to avoid further market instability. Others less concerned with optics and more with preserving political narratives push for rhetoric, emphasizing external factors or judicial activism as the cause of economic uncertainty. The tension between presenting a unified front and managing internal disagreements is emblematic.
I'm not going to go any farther, but what we're hearing from Rachel Maddow, excuse me, is that the U.S. Supreme Court has invalidated Trump's ability to levy tariffs. And so that means that all the tariffs are now invalid. And she's talking about the economic effects of that on the companies that import and the suppliers that buy from those companies and the consumers that buy from those suppliers or the products from that are made from the parts the suppliers bring in, such as automobiles. So the whole thing is going to be one nightmare, but yet it is a great victory for all of us here in the United States because it's a kick in the nuts to Donald Trump, and he's been deserving it for a very long time. This is JC saying, Pox and more Jack to all my friends and family and so on, and keep on trucking. And to Donald Trump, hope you love the way that your nuts feel right now. So fuck you.